Good evening students. Today I am going to start new chapter, that is chapter number 4, planning. Students, as all of you know, our 12th class business studies is based upon the management. As I told you before in the chapter first, that management is the art of getting the work done through and from others. This whole management works through the 5 functions. These are known as the 5 functions of management, on which our next 5 chapters are based, in which planning is the first chapter as well as first function of management. This whole management greatly depends on this first function of management, planning. So let's start. What is planning? If we want to do something, if we want to achieve something, then what we have to do for that? Think about it. What we will do for that? Planning. Yes, we do planning for each and everything which we want to achieve. For example, if you want to achieve 90% marks in your board examination, then for that you have to make planner for the whole year. For your regular studies, like timetable to make for systematic and regular studies to achieve your target. So this is called planning. What you did for the whole year, this is known as the planning. Planning can be defined as thinking in advance as to what is to be done, when it is to be done, and how it is to be done, and by whom it should be done. In simple words, we can say planning bridges the gap between where we are standing today and where we want to reach. So planning, always thinking in advance. We always think in advance what we have to do for the future. When it is to be done, how it is to be done, all these things we have to think in advance for the future. That's why planning is futuristic and do for the future. Planning bridges the gap between where we are standing today, means present. What is our present and what will be our future? This gap will be bridged by the planning. What we are today and what we want to reach in our future, that should be decided by the planning. If we plan successfully and then implement also, then definitely we will achieve our future. So planning ensures our future success. Students, next topic is features of planning. First feature is planning is primary function of management. Planning is the primary function of management as it lays down a base for other functions of management. All other functions are performed within the framework of the plans drawn by planning process. Students, planning is the primary or first function to be performed by every manager. No other function can be executed by the manager without performing planning function, because objectives are set up in planning and other functions depend on the objectives only. That's why planning is primary function of management. Among all the 5 functions of management, planning is to be done in first step, which is a base for other functions of management. Next feature is planning focuses on achieving objectives. Planning is a goal-oriented process. The purpose of planning is to develop and facilitate accomplishment of organizational objectives. Planning has no meaning unless it positively contributes for achievement of predetermined goals. Students, planning starts with the determination of objectives. We cannot think of planning in absence of objectives. After setting up of the objectives, planning decides the methods, procedures and steps to be taken for achievement of set objectives. So planning is a goal oriented process as it is done to achieve the objectives of the organization. And planning is useless if it does not contribute for the achievement of predetermined goals. Next feature is planning is pervasive. Students, here pervasive means which is present everywhere. Planning is needed at all levels of management and in all departments of the organization. Thus, every manager at every level of management performs planning function. So students, planning is pervasive means planning is present everywhere, whether at the all levels of management. And the levels of management, as I told you before in the chapter first, there are the three levels of management: top level management, middle level management and lower level management. So planning is needed for all the levels, whether it is top, middle and lower level of management. And in all departments of the organization, there are so many departments in the organization. For example, marketing department, sales department, HR, human and resource department, production department, finance department. So there are so many departments in the organization. So planning is needed in all the departments of the organization also. Thus, every manager at every level of management performs planning function. Students, our next feature is planning is a continuous process. Plans are prepared for a particular period of time. At the end of that period, there is a need for a new plan on the basis of new situations, including achievements and failures of the previous plan. So students, as you know, planning is a never-ending or continuous process, because after making plans also one has to be in touch with the changes in changing environment and in the selection of one best way. So after making plans also, planners keep making changes in plans according to the requirement of the company. For example, if the plan is made during the boom period and during its execution there is depression period, then planners have to make changes according to conditions prevailing. So it is not sure that once plans are made, so it will be never changed. According to the situation and time, planning should be changed, and there is always fear of changing the plans. Next is planning is futuristic. Planning is futuristic in nature and is primarily concerned with looking into future. It needs forecasting of likely future events of business environment. The success of plan implementation depends greatly on the accurate forecasting of future environment. So students, planning is futuristic because planning is never done for the past. It always done for the future. Planning always means looking ahead, or planning is a futuristic function. All the managers try to make predictions and assumptions for future, and these predictions are made on the basis of past experiences of the manager and with the regular and intelligent scanning of the journal environment. So planning is always done for the future on the basis of past experiences of the managers. Next feature is planning involves decision making. Planning consists of proper and careful analysis of various alternatives and selecting the best possible alternative. Thus, decision making is an integral part of planning as it involves choice from various alternative courses of action. Students, planning function is needed only when different alternatives are available, different options are available, and we have to select most suitable alternative among those. We cannot imagine planning in absence of choice, because in planning function managers evaluate various alternatives and select the most appropriate. But if there is one alternative available, then there is no requirement of planning. So planning always involves decision making. Decision making for what? Decision making for most of the options, for most of the alternatives, and the selecting best one among them. For example, if we have 3 or 4 projects and among them we have to select and we have to decide the best one project for the company, then we will make plan for that. We will do planning for that project which give most profit to the company. And the last feature is planning is a mental exercise. Students, this is important point. How planning is a mental exercise. Planning is a thinking process rather than doing process. The thinking should be logical and systematic and not the guesswork or wishful thinking. Therefore, planning requires application of mind involving foresight, intelligence, imagination, and sound judgment. Apart from that, in planning, various alternatives are evaluated and the most suitable one is selected, which again requires higher level of intelligence.